Science proves my past life memories of pyramid power. We designed pyramids to project 5D frequencies over the entire Earth. What's more important is to understand that in the near future, humans will learn to become more powerful frequency projectors even than the pyramids were 13,000 years ago. Stay tuned for the whole video because we are going to take a look at a bunch of different information which I'm going to share with you, and we're going to look at what these new structures are underneath the pyramid. What you're looking at here are some strange looking structures that go down a mile underneath the pyramids, and then they hook up to these other structures at the bottom. And what scientists are, well, they don't know what these are, but they are coming to the same conclusion of what I've been telling you in terms of my past life memories about what we did 13,000 years ago when we created the pyramids and what that was all about. So, in case you're new to the channel, this is the Michael Denney channel. Disclosure is coming. Open Act is here. And if you've been following my channel, then you know that for the past 2.5 years after I did human-initiated contact with extraterrestrials, of which at the time I didn't believe existed, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to prove this right or wrong one way or another. So I did what is called CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind protocols, which very simple. Go Google it if you don't know what it is. We do a version of it here on this channel twice a week, the live guided interdimensional meditation. And when I first did this, as a result of that, I made contact with very powerful beings who then began showing me incredible things. One of which was they began to start telling me about my past on Earth, as it turns out 13,000 or so years ago in Atlantis. And they started explaining to me about what we were doing, what the pyramids were. It turns out that as the Egyptians say, the only people who talk about Atlantis historically are the Egyptians. The Greeks took it from the Egyptians, and as it turns out, Egypt was in fact, the pyramids were in fact created by the Atlantean scientists and the priests who worked together. And as it turns out, according to the extraterrestrials who have communicated with me over the past couple of years, this technology was also created by extraterrestrials who were working with humans. So they were giving them technology advice and working with them, but it was a group effort. Multiple extraterrestrial races were coming to Earth, working with humans. And the forefront of that were the Atlanteans. Now, it just came to my mind, what's interesting is that in the ufology crowd today, you can hear all over the place. In fact, I just saw Whitley Strieber uploaded something. I saw the title of it. I didn't bother watching it because I know it's not accurate. But the ufology crowd for years have been saying that extraterrestrials are working secretly with governments, the world governments, blah, blah, blah. Well, that is not true. Extraterrestrials, I can tell you definitively, are not working with governments. They don't have any agreements, nothing like that. Extraterrestrials are working with human beings, individuals, because the people who are running the governments, the global governments, are actually the same people that are responsible for causing the flood cataclysm that got rid of the worldwide advanced civilization. So extraterrestrials, and the truth is that those same people for 13,000 years have been at war with extraterrestrials. So what you're hearing and have been hearing for whatever it is, 50 or 60 years from ufologists, that the Greys are working, in conjunction with the governments and all that, that is pure, total misinformation. It is lies. Anyway, I won't spend any more time talking about that. But what is interesting, as I just realized, is that there was a global world government 13,000 years ago. It was completely different from today. What you have today is you have a globalist government that is seeking to take over the world and control and enslave humanity. That was the original goal of the rebel factions of the world global government. They were rebelling against the actual world government, which was based completely on the opposite. There was no such thing as money. There was no such thing as banks. There was no such thing as any of that nonsense. And the world government, that government is not the right word. The rulers of the global civilization were focused 100% on human freedom and human expansion of consciousness. And back then, leaders, the only function they had was to actually work spiritually, to empower people so that they could be free. And as you've heard, it was a utopia. The ancient Atlantis was a utopia until it became corrupted. But until that time, there was no poverty. People did what they wanted to do. People were encouraged to be spiritual, and technology was created to make everybody's life better. And nobody owned anything, those kinds of things. So anyway, I found that ironic because I was just sitting here thinking about it as I was talking. Anyway, I got lost in the weeds. So if you're new to the channel, this is the Michael Denney channel, and I encourage you to subscribe and comment, and do me a favor, go into all of the videos and the playlists and search this channel. Don't be lazy. Put some time and effort into finding what it is that we're teaching here. All right, let's keep going. So, what we've found recently, and I put links here below, scientists have just recently discovered that underneath the pyramids are these massive structures that definitely look like technology. And it's clear that it's technology that, we weren't supposed to have, when science tells you the pyramids were made. Whenever it was 4,000 years ago or something ridiculous like that, where they didn't have anything more than bronze tools, and they were using ropes and pulleys and levers to move giant stone blocks that are 2 tons, and they're pulling them up these ramps, it's just ridiculous. The reason why it's ridiculous is because the truth is that even right now, we don't have the technology to move stones that big from hundreds of miles away. We don't have the technology to do it now. So the idea that these people who, didn't have, 3,000-4,000 years ago didn't have anything. They didn't even have steel tools. They weren't able to do anything. It's ridiculous. So whoever created the pyramids were using extremely advanced technology far beyond what we have now. And so the only 2 possibilities are that a higher technological civilization from someplace off of Earth came and created them, and or human beings had the technology. And it turns out that it's a mixture of the two. Human beings 13,000 years ago had the technology. Just to let you know, 13,000 years ago, we were in the middle of what is called Satya Yuga. So if you know anything about the yugas, people mistakenly think we're in Kali Yuga, which is not true. Kali Yuga is when human beings are the furthest away from the spirit, and Satya Yuga is when people are 100% connected to spirit. And these go in cycles. And actually, Kali Yuga ended in 1700. Kali Yuga was actually the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. As it turns out, in Europe we called it the Dark Ages, and Kali Yuga translated means the Age of Darkness. That's exactly when it happened. In 1700, people started waking up to new ideas and started getting back into art, and humanism and technology and science started taking off again, and different ideas about society and freedom and equality. That is when we left Kali Yuga and we entered into Dwapara Yuga. We are still in Dwapara Yuga now, which means half and half, which is why people are split down the middle. And Satya Yuga, you go Dwapara, you go Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, 75% connected to spirit, and Satya Yuga, which means the age of truth, where you're connected 100% to spirit. That was when Atlantis was on the earth 13,500 years ago. That was the pinnacle of it. So that's what we're talking about. And these structures seem to be about creating frequencies. So you see on top there what looks like little pagodas. Those are stone structures that are inside of the pyramid that they discovered, that have not been discovered yet up until now. Again, this is done with imaging, some kind of imaging technology and software. And then those pylons underneath that have like tubules running around it, you can see looks like threads running around it. Those go down all the way to the bottom, and I believe it's over a mile deep. And then these are anchored into these other stone structures. And so scientists are coming to the conclusion this had to have been some kind of power generator using Earth frequencies. So this is what I've been telling you guys. Those of you who are doing the live guided interdimensional meditations, there are two mantras that we primarily use. The first one is Hul. You can hear it in the background. Somebody said, I don't like your Om in the background. It's distracting. It's not Om. It's Hul. This is an Earth frequency. This was given to me in meditation about 15, 20 years ago. And I now realize that it's coming from higher dimensional beings. So that is the frequency of Earth. When you chant that, you are chanting the frequency of Earth. Why is that important? Well, we now know, science is coming to the conclusion that Earth frequencies are being used. Where did I go here? Is this where I'm going? No. Earth frequencies are being used. Man, what is going on here? Okay. So Earth frequencies, according to scientists, are being used by these structures underneath the pyramids. Why would you do that? Well, that's what science is trying to figure out. They're thinking it might be I just, heard 2 or 3 theories, again, link below, 2 or 3 theories that scientists don't know, but they're saying, well, maybe it created electricity, maybe it created free energy. And then somebody said maybe it was a weapon of mass destruction. Because if you're harnessing the frequency of Earth, which is the thought process now, that they're harnessing Earth frequencies and magnifying them and projecting them. The question is why. I can tell you exactly why. We're going to get into this as we go on. But anyway, this is just amazing what we're seeing with, what they found. Again, we're looking at, this is a mile deep underneath the pyramids. Crazy stuff. So let's just get into it. All right, so as 5D shift progresses, science will rediscover Satya Yuga advanced global civilization. It is becoming harder and harder to just simply poo-poo the idea of an advanced civilization. Now, for somebody like me that's been on the planet in this life for as long as I have, this is incredibly revolutionary thinking. Maybe if you're 20 years old or 30 years old, you've been hearing this most of your life. But, I grew up absolutely indoctrinated and convinced that, that the supposed slaves in Egypt were whipped into pulling ropes made out of hemp and somehow pulling huge, incredibly heavy, large blocks of granite up these steep things, and it's just absolute complete nonsense. Just when you think about it, it's just so ridiculous. Since we don't have the technology, we couldn't do it now even if we wanted to. We wouldn't be able to create a pyramid. People have tried much smaller. They've tried to create much smaller pyramids, and they couldn't do it with modern equipment. They were incapable of doing it. So it's clear that this is a very old technology. Anyway, but as we get closer into the shift and the awakening continues to happen, right now we're going through this this planetary alignment. As you can see here, as I've shown you before, it's a Vedic astrological chart. All those planets are lining up in Pisces. This is March 30th when we're going to have the eclipse. So we're going to have all those planets aligning in Pisces, and there's going to be an eclipse as well, a solar eclipse. And this kind of astrological scenario is making it so that people are waking up. There's no way to avoid it. There's no way. If you're feeling a bunch of crazy intense emotions, if you're having what people call ascension symptoms, if you're going crazy on the inside, I am, if you can feel it, that's because everything is aligning to shift. What's happening is your whole internal psychological, emotional, and spiritual structure is being flipped on its head. And the consciousness on planet Earth is being flipped on its head, which is why people are even talking about this. Nobody talked like this. The only people that talked like this were people that were just complete outcasts and nutcases, the ufology nutcase crowd. They talked about it and nobody took them seriously. Well, there's no way that you can look at this evidence if you accept it. Of course, the Egyptologists are saying this is complete nonsense, but you can't deny that these people are using very advanced technology, and they are seeing evidence that these structures exist a mile underneath the pyramids. And of course, there's no way that this was done by primitive people. It's just not possible. But what I find interesting, as I said already, is that people are coming to the conclusion of what I've been telling you for years, which is that the pyramids are frequency projectors. And what my friends, the Pleiadians, who were my advisors 13,000 years ago when I was part of the ruling class in Atlantis, what they've been telling me is that it was a very powerful technology, and it was designed for one thing, which was to create a protective, energetic dome around Earth so that human being, their consciousness could reach its highest, because we were in a time where we could actually make use of it, because we were in Satya Yuga. And so what I was doing, in case you haven't watched my channel, believe me or not, light beings have shown me memories that I was in fact the ruler of Atlantis at that time. And my goal was to take advantage of Satya Yuga. We knew we were in Satya Yuga, and we knew that that was only going to last for a limited amount of time. And my thought was that we were going to create such an incredibly spiritual atmosphere around Earth that human beings would shift. As it turns out, actually a large number of humans did shift. The Lemurians are one group of people. So those are real people. Listen, just because I interacted something I didn't believe in, which was extraterrestrials, and they showed me all kinds of stuff, I didn't believe in the Lemurian nonsense, people living underneath Mount Shasta and a higher dimensional city of crystals. Give me a break. But I thought, well, why don't I find out? Bear in mind, I expected nothing. I've done these experiments before where I've gone out in meditation to find things that people have said didn't exist, nothing there. I went and I said, okay, I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to use my newfound meditative gifts, which my extraterrestrial friends have taught me and given to me. I'm going to go see if these Lemurians exist. And they sure as heck did. As soon as I went there, boom, they showed up. And not only did they show up, these were humans, by the way. These were humans. The Lemurians were one of the civilizations that were living contemporaneously with the Atlanteans. In fact, they were related. It's like basically a different state, two different related states on the planet that were part of this elite spiritual culture. Well, it turns out that many of the Lemurians actually shifted. They took advantage of the technology that we were using, which was the pyramids, among other things. And so the energy that was created from this, they used it, they mastered it, and they shifted up to what people call 5D. And when I went there in meditation expecting to find nothing, boom, these beings showed up. They weren't ETs, they were very powerful, they were incredibly beautiful, and they said, "It's you." They recognized me as the person who used to be the ruler of Atlantis. And you've got to know, I mean, if you think I'm saying this like it's easy to talk about, it's not. I didn't believe in any of this garbage. And to say this with a straight face is hard to do. But I'm just telling you the truth of what I believe I've been shown. And so the Lemurians did in fact exist, and they shifted. And I found out, and I talked about this before, why I didn't. I won't take the time right now to talk about that. But a lot of people used that technology and shifted. Now, what was supposed to happen, and I didn't listen. I was overseeing the use and the construction of this technology. And what was supposed to happen, as I'm piecing all this together, even now as I'm sitting here, is that people successfully used it, they shifted up, and then we were supposed to dismantle the technology. Because we were going down, we were going back down the Yuga cycle. And what we were supposed to do was now begin teaching human beings how to take those same principles and apply it to the human body. The human body is what we were really supposed to be doing, what the ETs knew and what I had forgotten because I became obsessed with what I was trying to do. what we were supposed to realize was that we succeeded with the pyramids and people shifted. And what we were supposed to do then was to internalize that and then begin using practices so that we could create the human body to become the projector, even more powerful than pyramids. And then human beings would be able to shift themselves without the use of any spiritual technology. But because I was so completely obsessed with this and I felt so responsible, I got confused. And anyway, I've talked about that before. You can watch previous videos. You know, I put up a lot of videos. The ones that I put up about my past lives, you should watch those. There's a ton of very important information in there. It's not just me self-absorbedly talking about my past life. I'm giving you information about the past and the future that's coming. There's a reason I've been given those awarenesses, because there's important lessons in there. So if you haven't watched them, go back and watch them on my channel. All right, so as 5D shift progresses, science will rediscover Satya Yuga advanced global civilization. Recent frequency scans of Giza Pyramid shows massive underground man-made structures. Scientists theorize massive structures under pyramid were used to amplify Earth frequency. As I said, that's the whole breath. You want to know why we're doing it? Why we do it when we do these live guided interdimensional meditations? What is the first thing we do? We do the whole breath and we connect directly to Mother Earth. And we send that frequency up into the heavens and back. Do you realize now why we do that? Because we are reinventing the technology that was used to create the pyramids. So that's why we do the whole breath. What the heck? Oh, that's something else. Okay. Where am I? Come on. Is this where I am? Not this one? This one? There we go. All right. So, I've already said this. The Pleiadians showed me that 13,500 years ago, humans and ETs created pyramids to amplify 5D frequency on planet Earth. Pleiadians and other extraterrestrials worked with humans creating technology to amplify consciousness. I already talked about that. The frequency technology was designed to create a protective energy field around Earth. The technology responded to conscious intentions as well as chanted sounds. This is why mantra is so important. And this is why we really, I'm not able to. I can go into interdimensional meditation just by closing my eyes and intending to do it. I don't even have to close my eyes anymore, but I do. But the mantras that we're doing are the frequencies that give us what we're looking for. Sound frequency technology was what was the pinnacle of our science. Being able to use frequencies, all of the elements, the 5 elements, ether, air, fire, water, earth. These are frequencies. You are a frequency. Everything has a resonant frequency. So this is an extremely, extremely advanced technology. And we still have it. It's called mantra. So that's why I tell people go to astrology.thunderwizard.com to get a specific mantra for you based on your chart, because you have a resonant frequency. And it's important that you know how to access that and use that. It's very powerful technology. It was the most powerful technology that has ever existed, and it's been lost. And as you can see now, people are finding that out. Oh, look at that. This thing is a frequency generator. They're just now waking up to what spiritual practices have known for thousands of years. Where am I? Yeah. So, as king of Atlantis, I was tasked with overseeing this technology and expanding awareness. I already said that. The technology was about to be stolen by corrupt elites who assassinated me. So, the elites that are trying to finalize their conquest of planet Earth, and they are failing miserably right now, which is why they're so dangerous. Look, all this weather stuff that's happening now, all of these fires, this is a last-ditch effort. Their plan is to completely, totally take over the entire planet. And they plan on continuing to advance their technologies, which they already have, to continue to wage war against extraterrestrials. They're extremely dangerous, these people. But these people arose 13,000 years ago. And I've given you the story before. This isn't something I would have thought about myself. If you think that this is my delusion that I've had my whole life, it isn't. None of this is anything that's even close to anything I would have considered for myself. As I said, it's still embarrassing to even admit it. But I have a personal, rule that I have to not be a secret. It's very, very bad for me, mentally, psychologically, if I keep this stuff inside. I have to tell the truth on myself. And even if that means people are going to ridicule me, I'm better off having people thinking I'm nuts than me holding on to secrets. So, what was that in regard to? Oh, yeah. So, the technology was about to be stolen by corrupt elites who assassinated me. So, even though there were all of those Lemurians who shifted up to 5D and a huge number of the priestly class that was around at that time, they took advantage of the higher frequency that the pyramids and other technologies which are going to be discovered. These technologies, they used them and they shifted up. They're no longer on this third dimensional plane. And they've been here and they've been working with us this whole time. And they're working with us now as well as working directly also with higher dimensional ETs. But there was a faction, and if I am remembering it correctly, they may have been Lemurians. So there may have been an Atlantean-Lemurian war. I don't know any of the modern legend, mythology about this. Maybe somebody's already said that. I'm just going off of, I didn't read this anywhere. I'm going off of my memories as they've been revealed to me and awakened within me from my light being friends. But there was a faction of Lemurians who wanted control of the technology. Now, we in Atlantis controlled the technology and we had access to all of the, the real high level stuff. And we increasingly had to keep it secret because this is, there's a reason why there are people now who have multiple theories about the pyramids. And there are some people that think that the pyramids were free energy generators, which they were, and, frequency generators, but they don't really understand what the frequencies were used for. And there are some people who rightly have this intuition that the pyramids might have been weapons of mass destruction, interstellar, interplanetary weapons of mass destruction. The reason why they have that is because that is what the Lemurians, the rebels, the rebellious Lemurians wanted. And I was protecting it. So they had to get rid of me. Because as long as I was in power, I wouldn't let them have the technology. And so what I was supposed to do is I was supposed to dismantle it. I was supposed to dismantle it and focus people on the spiritual aspect. And because I didn't do that, because I had this obsession of keeping Earth in Satya Yuga forever, because I had that obsession about it. It created an imbalance, and that's in the minds of some people. They started getting corrupted to the idea of, if we had this technology, we could completely control all of the minds of people on planet Earth. And they also had to get rid of the extraterrestrial influence, because we were working with extraterrestrials who were also responsible for much of the technology. They gave us, they taught us, we worked with them, we developed our own stuff with them. So it wasn't just them giving it to us like the ufologists want you to. It had nothing to do with the Anunnakis coming. That's a complete misunderstanding. It was completely done hand in hand. And we were equals in this. But because of my obsession and holding on to it and not following the instructions, which was, we need to start dismantling this technology and focusing people on using pyramid power within their own body. This is where the chakra sciences came from. This is where the chi meridians came from. This is where the spiritual technologies about energy work came from. Because we were shifting from an external source of frequency, spiritual generation, and we were going to take it the next step. This was the next step for everybody. All of the ETs everywhere. This was a group, a intergalactic group focus. And they were also going to benefit from the knowledge and experiments of going inward and turning our physical bodies. We look at other extraterrestrials and we think that we're, just these dumb monkeys. But the truth is that human beings are very, very evolved, and how many people on planet Earth actually use the chakras or the meridians or any of that? Use the internal elements that I teach you here at thunderwizard.com. How many humans do that? Almost none. It is a dormant, incredibly powerful technology within the human body. My job 13,000 years ago was to dismantle the external technology. Tell the world we are going to evolve beyond using external technologies. We are going to go inward and we are going to become gods on earth. And that's where we were supposed to go when we went down, because when we go down in the yugas, the way to go down in the yugas and evolve is to go inward meditatively. And as we go up, watch what's going to happen now. As we go up the yuga cycle from Kali Yuga and we go back up, we will now externalize it, which is why now people are discovering these external spiritual technologies. Why people are rediscovering things like mantra and meditation and ritual. We're rediscovering the power. Why we're rediscovering the power of being able to intend our reality externally. Because Satya Yuga, you're completely connected and now you're creating this external environment. When you go down to Kali Yuga, eventually the way that the Yuga cycle will go, I'm just realizing this as I speak, is that as we progress further, the Yuga cycles are going to continue, but we will go through periods of going inward and meditating, gaining power, and then externalizing that power back and forth. So it will no longer be Kali Yuga, meaning that you're completely disconnected from the spirit and life is horrible. That's not what it's going to mean anymore. It's going to mean periods of time where beings go inward and meditate for thousands of years and they come up with new awarenesses, and then they externalize that and they create even more higher dimensional worlds and realities. Is that making sense? All right, so the technology responded to conscious intentions as well as chanted sounds. As king of Atlantis, I was tasked with overseeing the corrupt elites who assassinated me. So I kind of cut myself off. So the people that are now running this world are descendants. They are descendants, at the very least energetically, from those first rebels who tried to steal the technology and use it. The reason why, and I say here, the technology was about to be stolen by corrupt elites who assassinated me. The frequency technology was going to be used as a mind control device and space weapon. I've already said that. Higher dimensional beings sent comets to destroy dark elites' civilization. So that was the failsafe. That was like the last ditch. So understand that everything that has happened has been done strategically. The way the world has unfolded over time has been a strategic, step-by-step process that has so in order to gain power, in order to gain consciousness, you must put yourself in a situation where the consciousness is very pressurized, three-dimensional reality. And there must be a risk of failure. Otherwise, it won't work. Just like anything else. You want to be good at something, you got to take it all the way to the edge, and you got to risk. I mean, you want to surf the biggest wave in the world, you're going to have to risk drowning. That's part of it. So to become a very powerful spirit being means you choose to incarnate on planet Earth, knowing that there's a risk that you will encounter the harshness of it and get lost and make mistakes and perhaps do something destructive. So what was supposed to happen, there were two options at least. One was I followed the rules, which I didn't do. If I had followed the rules and I began to dismantle the technology as we were reaching the peak, and I came to the world and I said, we're going to begin dismantling the technology because we're going to go inward and we're going to now learn how to become like these pyramids. And so now let's focus on that. And if I had taught people those practices and allowed ETs and light beings to teach those practices, we would have gone down in the yugas meditating. And so, yeah, we would have lost all of that technology and we would have gone to a more primitive state, but we would have become very deeply powerful shamans, and then we would have awakened once again as we came out of Kali Yuga, and we would have become even more powerful than ever. That was one possible path, and that was the hoped for path. But we had to have a backup plan in case, because we had to have the threat of people becoming corrupt and trying to use the technology for sinister purposes. That had to be a possibility. And it turned out that that's what happened. And I take responsibility for my part in that. And so then the fail-safe was the higher dimensional beings who are watching all of this. They're like, don't worry, if you guys go off the deep end and you start to abuse this power and you become potentially destructive, we will make sure that that never happens, which is exactly what happened. So the higher dimensional beings sent comets to destroy the dark elite's civilization. So bear in mind, I was there. As I understand it, I was the last ruler of Satya Yuga Atlantis. We began to leave Satya Yuga and we started coming down. I tried to keep using the technology to keep people in 5D, thinking that that was the way to go. That actually created an imbalance. Some people began, as they started losing their spirituality, they became focused on the technology that I was trying to keep perfecting and using, and they started thinking, we can use this to control people's minds. We can use this to get rid of the extraterrestrials who were saying to me, and in general, they were saying it's time to stop using the technology. And what these corrupt people heard was that the ETs were saying, we're going to take your technology away from you. We're going to take your toys away. And they didn't like that. And so they got angry and they went to war with them. They knew they couldn't win the war if they didn't have access to the technology that I was protecting. And that is one of the reasons why the technology was supposed to be dismantled, because it could be used against the very beings that were working with us to help us. Does that make sense? So this war has been going on for 13,000 years, and it's coming to an end. If you don't already know, please go and look at Dr. Stephen Greer's websites. Go look at all of the 75,000 documents that he has that proves all of this stuff. But I'm telling you right now that the reason why we don't have open contact, the main reason, is because if extraterrestrials allow themselves to be seen in the third dimension, they will be immediately shot down and killed. There are ETs that have been taken captive, that are being held captive, that are being tortured, that are being killed, that are being experimented on, being used to create hybrids by humans. Humans are doing this. This war's been going on for 13,000 years. And the elites now finally believe they've accomplished what they were trying to do 13,000 years ago. They believe they've finally put all the pieces together. This is why there has been the so-called UFO retrieval program. That's a real thing. Now, those ships don't accidentally crash and then humans go and retrieve the craft. Those ships are shot down by humans, and then they go and retrieve the craft and do reverse technology on them. So anyway, it's a very sad situation. So this war has to come to an end. And so the most powerful thing that we can do is what we're doing every time we do these meditations. We are putting an end to this 13,000 interstellar war with people who are trying to get this knowledge for one purpose only, which is to completely control the world. And then they plan on conquering other planets after that. So it has to be stopped. This is the most powerful way to do it. The interdimensional meditation is the most effective way. Now, bringing it back into a positive realm, this is where we were supposed to go. We were supposed to turn our body into more powerful projectors than pyramids. If you've been watching my channel and you've been hearing me tell you as time goes on what the light beings have been telling me about my abilities out there, this is what they were talking about, which means that human beings didn't have the power to do what we do in these meditations 13,000 years ago. This is why, I'm just realizing it as I talk, I've been struggling with this. I go out there in my astral body and the light beings basically prostrate themselves in front of me and they call me, Mahadeva, and you're the most powerful being. And when we do these meditations, very often they will come back and they will be, we never knew anybody could do what you just did. What you and the people meditating with you are creating is something we've never seen before. Extraterrestrial beings have shown me that they can't do what we're doing. When we, beginning, we were going to the sun and we were sending solar energy to Earth to create the 5D shift event. And I just thought I was meditating, and light beings are telling me, we've never seen anybody as powerful as you, what you people are doing. And then one day, as I was meditating, one of my teachers, a mantis being, he said, I want to show you something. I said, okay. And we went to the sun, and he said, watch. And he went into the sun, and he tried to do what we do, and he couldn't do it. Nothing happened. And he came back and he said, I don't have the power to do what you do. Only you can do this, meaning humans. So the power that these pyramids have, that they had, they don't have anymore. They're broken. There was a huge cataclysm, and you can see inside. If you go inside the pyramids, you'll see smoke. On the sides of the pyramids, you'll see where there used to be huge fires. There were explosions in there. The technology was broken during this cataclysm. And that was the goal, to destroy the technology. So what you're looking at when you look at the pyramids is you're looking at like a broken shell of an old, highly powerful frequency technology engine. It's now broken. It's just this, it's just the pieces of it. It's just the skeleton of it. Anyway, I got off track here, but I can feel a ton of energy as I'm talking about this and reliving this and learning as I go. So you are meant to be more powerful than the pyramids. And you can be if you choose to be. And it has everything to do with using the technology that's in your body. Your chakras, your meridian systems, knowing how to activate your 5 organs with the 5 elements. It's more powerful than anything. Most powerful thing that exists. You. Current shadow elites have been able to reconstruct some of the technology, weather. I already talked about that, the weather stuff that's going on. I've never seen anything like it. And anyway, a lot of this has to do with technology that's been reconstructed. It's going to come out. It's already come out. If you've done any research at all, you've found this out. But in Antarctica, human beings currently have scalar energy weapons that are being used on the planet as well as off planet. So Earth has already become a danger to the rest of the civilizations in this multiverse. So something has to change. We're in the exact same position we were 13,000 years ago, where something has to change. And if human beings don't change, there's going to be another cataclysm. But the way things work is that the way we overcome it is we become the pyramids. We allow ourselves to use frequency and intention. This is something that the elites don't understand yet. They're still focused on physical technology, which is why they're going to lose. So everything is about to shift, by the way. I've been getting, increasing frequency and increasing intensity. The messages that I'm getting from the light beings are everything's about to shift. As I'm talking to you, my crown chakra, and it hurts. It's just pulsating. There's so much energy that is about to shift. And there's so much power coming for spiritual practitioners. And I don't know what it is. But when I try to get specific, they say you wouldn't understand yet. But there's been a phrase that's been repeated to me, which was repeated to me once before. Before we started doing these live guided meditations, the first thing that happened after I started communicating with light beings, and I said, when is this shift going to come? Because I saw in a shamanic vision, I saw that there was going to be a worldwide shift in consciousness. And I wanted it to happen like today. And so I said, when is this going to happen? And they said, when you decide. I said, okay, then I decide now. I'm going to go make it happen. And I did a live stream meditation. It was the first live guided meditation. I thought I'd bring you guys with me. And I went up into the sun and we sent energy from the sun to planet Earth to bring the ascension event. It was a powerful meditation. We came back. Of course, we were still here. We were still down here. And I'm like, okay, well, that was fun. And then the light beings showed up immediately afterwards, and they were absolutely beside themselves with joy and with happiness. And they were saying, you have no idea what you've just done. And they were thanking me. Imagine thousands of higher dimensional beings thanking you. Thank you so much for what you just did. And I was like, I don't know what I did. And then it had to have been a day or two later that an extremely extremely powerful light being came and upgraded me. And that is when I was told who I am in my fifth dimensional self, which is an extremely powerful deity. And I was given this unbelievable, title having to do with how much power I had out there. And I didn't know what the heck to do with that. And it almost broke me. I now get it. I can put A plus B plus C together, and what I see makes perfect sense. Human beings are the most evolved physical, spiritual projectors in the multiverse. We are more powerful than all the other ETs. We are more powerful than the Pleiadians. We are more powerful than the Andromedans. We are more powerful than the Syrians. They're very powerful and they're very conscious. What we are is we're not conscious at all, but we have more power than they do. If we learn how to use it, and if we learn how to intend in our astral bodies, we have more power than they do. And so we have to do the work to shift. So if you can accept the idea that you have the same kind of power that the pyramids once had, which they had the ability to send an energetic frequency around the entire earth to keep everybody in an extremely elevated 5D mindset. But they could have been used for anything, and this is why they had to be demolished. Because if the dark forces had gotten a hold of that, they could have used it to intend anything. And they're very psychopathic people. So they would have intended, horrible, horrible things. They would have had unlimited power. Of course, the universe won't put up with that. But if you want, you can have unlimited power to intend whatever you choose. So when we do these live guided meditations, when we're doing these, at the end of these meditations, almost every time we're taken to a level where we start creating a new reality. You remember, that's what we do. If you do that, you can feel how high the frequency goes. We are using our powers in the same way that the pyramids were being used, but we're doing it on an infinitely greater scale because we are more powerful. The lesson is we don't need external spiritual technology. Everything is internally generated. And when we do these meditations, in the beginning I was just following what I was being shown. And then at one point they just sort of let me go. And I'd go out there and there would be nobody there to guide me. And I thought, oh, where are my friends gone? They're not training me anymore. And then I just started playing around and I just started fantasizing, and wherever I felt the energy, that's where I would go. And I started creating all kinds of places and things. And after these meditations, more times than I can count, I've gotten used to it. I've gotten, it doesn't affect me anymore because I've gotten so used to it. It happened this last time. When we do these meditations, almost every time beings show up afterwards and they go, we had no idea that anybody could do what you've done. In fact, I've shared this before, but this was one of the craziest. It's just unbelievable. And you can understand why I've worried about my sanity and thought maybe I have some kind of delusion. But we did the live guided meditations, and I did what I do quite often, which is I went and created some new world or reality. I'm just playing out there. I'm just experimenting and creating and following the energy. And afterwards, after the meditation, I'm lying down and I'm just trying to, come back to earth, and very, very powerful being shows up, very happy. And the being says, I want to ask a favor of you. And I said, of course. How can I help you? And they said, we want to invite you to become a founding member of this higher dimensional, what are they, like council, and we are going to create new universes. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it sounds really intense. It sounds like a lot of, I'm thinking this to myself, it sounds like a lot of responsibility. The energy is very intense. It's very frightening because it feels, I mean, when you've talked to them, you know what I'm talking about. It's not like a normal fantasy where everything feels good. It's very uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay. And I said, I don't know that I can do anything. I'm just a human. And I said, you don't understand. What you just did in that meditation, you created an entire new dimension that didn't exist before. And there are whole universes in that. You created that. And they said, we'd never seen anything like that before, and we want to do that. So we're going to go work with what you created, and we're going to learn from it. And then when you leave this reality, you can come and be a founding member of this, and we can create these new. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand the power of what you're doing. Just what we're doing in these meditations have never been done before. According to the light beings, according to higher dimensional beings from much higher dimensions than ours, they're saying we've never seen anybody do the things that you guys are doing. And we're learning from you. We're watching you and we're learning from you. And I'm now putting all the pieces together. We're in the third dimension, which is a tremendously dense, energetic awareness state. But it gives us a huge amount of power. And if we focus that intensity towards spiritual awakening, our physical bodies, which have been evolving for millions and millions of years so that we can become more powerful than the pyramids, when we learn how to take that and focus it in the right direction, our bodies become something beyond anything even the light beings have ever imagined. So we're not at the bottom of the totem pole. We are the explorers. All explorers go out and they have to take risks. The people who explore for the first time, you got to have a huge pair. And there's a huge risk involved. I'm actually related to the guy Clark from Lewis and Clark. And those guys took off. They had no idea what they were going to find. They had no idea. They didn't even know what grizzly bears were. They didn't know anything yet. And that's what we're doing. We are going off into new realms with these technologies, and we're creating and finding and discovering things that existing light beings in the highest dimensions have never seen before. This is how important you are. So if we keep focusing in this direction, what's going to happen is the exact opposite of what happened 13,000 years ago. Instead of a big crash, we're going to have a huge, perhaps instantaneous explosion upwards. Now, I don't know when or how this is going to happen. I don't know what it's going to mean. But based on the communications I've been getting recently, it's going to happen. And it might happen the end of this month, March. I don't know. I do know that it's very likely that we will look back on this time. 100 years from now, they'll look back and they'll go, oh yeah, March 30th, 2025. That's when everything changed. We didn't know it at the time, but everything changed then. All right, so yeah, I've talked through everything there. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying it. Again, this is the Michael Denney channel, and you can go to michaeldenney.org to see other things you can find in terms of my teachings and my information, my books, etc. So I've been giving a challenge to those of you. And a few of you have responded. So I gave you a challenge a while back. I want to see 20 of you go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe, not for free. You can do that if you want. It won't get you anything. But subscribe at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong or above. You've already done the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong? Great. Do it again. Or go the next step. Become an apprentice. Come to the live Zoom group. There's a bunch of things that you can be doing. Work with me directly. I'm going to start creating another type of apprenticeship which will go deep into interdimensional empowerment, and I'm putting that together now. So go the next step. I'm challenging 15 of you. I started with 20. I'm down to 15. So thank you for those who have responded. 15 more. Or go to the shop. Invest in the Maoshan 5-element spirit fighting. Invest in some of the other meditations, the Awakening the Immortals, the Celestial Qigong. There's all kinds of stuff. I challenge you to push yourself to the next level. Learn something you haven't learned before. Go deeper in this meditation energy, because if you realize the power that you are walking around with all day, if you had any idea, I promise you, you'd be spending your time creating realities instead of doing what the dark forces who assassinated me 13,000 years ago, what they want you to do, which is to focus on the stuff that I'm trying not to get involved in, taxes and money and reputation and jobs and all that third dimensional nonsense. Focus on creating something, creating new worlds. You don't know what that means yet? Show up to the channel, subscribe at thunderwizard.com, and at the very least, come to the live guided interdimensional meditation that we do every Wednesday and Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's free and it's live, and if you can't make it there, then go to the live section on the YouTube channel. Pick any of them. August 14th is a good one. The last few ones have been incredibly powerful. Try those. Watch what happens. That's it for me, my friends. I love you all very much. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being on this journey with me and allowing me to share my journey with you. I couldn't do it without you. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Please take extremely good care of yourselves.